All right. I think that I am live on the tube. Hello friends. I'm going to get a second to get set up here. I wanted to talk about 5G warfare and ye old gender ideology. I'm writing an article right now about this very thing, to be honest. And give me a second. I don't know that anyone's with me right now anyways. Give people a second to arrive. Yeah, so I'm writing a Substack. I'm not sure where it's going to be published yet because I may publish it as a guest writer on another Substack. TBD. Not sure if that's going to work out yet. Uh, Let me make sure this is good. Hey, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so I'm writing a Substack. I'm not sure where it's going to be. Oh, that is working. Now I am going to organize myself differently here. Um, there are some interesting perspectives that we can take in looking at gender ideology as a form of fifth generation warfare. Let me go live on Instagram so I can not let them miss out on it. Gender ideology as... If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for your patience while I get all set up. There we go. Almost ready. That's good stuff. Okay, good stuff. So, I'm going to pull up my Substack that I'm working on. All right, I'm live on both Instagram and YouTube. There we go. So, as people arrive, I will allow people to arrive, but I wanted to talk about gender ideology as fifth generation warfare. Now, what is fifth generation warfare? The kind of war that we are living in right now is something called fifth generation warfare, which is essentially warfare that is designed to be hidden in normal life. Hello, friends. Hi. I'm going to wave to all of you. Hi. Let y'all arrive a little bit. Thank you for joining me. Yes, so I am writing this, what has turned out to be kind of a long article on how I created my latest film, Cut, as a form of fifth generation warfare. So I want to pull up some definitions for y'all, if you don't know. That essentially, fifth generation warfare is warfare that is the battle of perceptions and information. So, how do we know that gender ideology is a form of fifth generation warfare? Well, when we look at the way that gender ideology is being treated in different countries in the world. So right now, I'm in Canada. Gender ideology is thriving in Canada. It's embedded in our human rights laws. It's in our schools. It's deeply just into the legal system generally. And in the United States, especially in blue states, gender ideology is thriving there as well, although there's a strong pushback in red states. But there are three things that I want to talk about that make it kind of absurd that gender ideology is still so well supported? Number one, the shutting down of the Tavistock Institute in the UK. Okay? This is a big deal. The fact that, hello, hi, I'm going to wave at all of y'all. The fact that there are still major institutions in the United States and Canada, academic institutions, scientific institutions, that are pushing gender affirmative care is mind-boggling when you consider, number one, that the Tavistock Institute in the UK was shut down. But why was it shut down? By the admittance of the woman who performed the investigation into the Tavistock Institute, their gender clinic in the UK. By her own admittance, Hilary Cass was her name. They were imitating the American model of gender affirmative care, and this is what she states as their primary mistake and exactly what they're reversing. So when you look at how bonkers pro-transition, pro-medical transition activists are, and there is just totally ideologically saturated academics coming from the biggest institutions in America and Canada. Oh, set up my badges. Oh, that's a good idea. I've never looked into that. Thank you for the suggestion. I don't know, is that something I can do right now, or that's something I have to do before the live? You can let me know. Thank you. Hello. So, the Tavistock Institute in the UK, their gender clinic, it was shut down based on the idea that they were imitating the American model. And this is what they state as having been so dangerous, and this is specifically what they reversed. Even right down to social transitioning. They stated that social transitioning is a psychosocial experiment that has a severe impact on children, and that they will no longer be encouraging even socially transitioning children. That's massive, okay? So, okay, I will set that up. As long as they let me, as long as that Instagram likes to consistently punish me and just take features away. Like I can no longer make collaborative posts with people because I expose pedophilia and child abuse, I guess. I don't know. Instagram likes pedophilia. Okay, so the Tavistock Institute. Hello. I hope all of y'all have gone to the website for my film, daughtersofthewestfilm.com. Almost forgot my own website there. Daughtersofthewestfilm.com. Go sign up for the email because we're doing giveaways. It's good. It's a good deal for you. Okay, so I'm trying to frame this idea of fifth generation warfare, which is essentially covert warfare that people don't realize is warfare, and how it fits into gender ideology and the ways that we are fighting back or can fight back, and the ways that I am specifically fighting back, the kind of warfare that I am waging through my latest film. So I have cut Daughters of the West as a form of fifth generation warfare. And I will be putting out an extensive Substack on this with a ton of sources and lots of insight into this. So, number one, the shutting down of the Tavistock Institute in the UK, that's a huge blow to the whole, hello, my friend, to the whole gender ideology narrative. Okay, so that should have been everywhere in the news if we didn't have totally compromised news sources in Canada and the US that were entirely, beholden to gender ideology without any actual debate. Then that would have been a big blow to that narrative. But let's say, okay, maybe that's not enough for some people. Maybe they feel that that's just there's a bias going on. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. Number two, the approach to gender dysphoria in Sweden, they reversed it. All of Sweden, they stopped gender affirming care in Sweden, okay? That's two major nations that have stopped providing gender affirmative care based on the notion that it was harming children and that it was experimental. Okay, so that's two. So you have two nations that have shut down gender affirmative care, okay, 2 major nations. And yet, Canada is still chugging along full force. They are still performing this experiment on children. They're still creating laws that punish parents, that take away parental rights if they don't go along with gender affirmative care. So here in Canada, if my son, let's say, was in the public school system and gave into everything in the classroom that they're saying, oh, you might be in the wrong body. Are you in the wrong body? Are you in the wrong body? And then one day my son was like, I'm in the wrong body. And if I challenge that at all, I could get charged with conversion therapy, okay? I could get charged for not going along with my son's new gender identity and rushing him towards social transition. And again, social transition, which is one of the things they state in the shutting down of the gender clinic in the United Kingdom as a psychosocial act with severe implications that should not be performed. But here in Canada, the laws are that you do this or it's child abuse, apparently. So there's the Sweden one shutting down, there's the UK shutting down, but here's what's crazier. Oh yes, I saw that. I saw the pastor in Calgary. He got violently thrown out of I think it was a drag time story hour in a library, I believe it was. Yeah, it's very extreme. Yeah, the Canadian government is entirely compromised. And I think the distinction here between Canada and America is important, that I really think Canada was founded on corruption. I don't think it was founded like on freedom and then later became corrupt. Whereas I do think that America, to a certain extent has, oh, hi, Catherine. I'm over on YouTube as well, if people prefer that platform. So I really think Canada was founded on corruption from the beginning. I think it all being sort of started by the monarchy. There's just surreptitious intentions from the beginning. Anyways, but this brings me to my number 3 reason why gender ideology is actually a warfare operation, because it is irrationally being defended in Canada and America. The number 3 reason is the study out of Toronto, here in Toronto, at CAMH, okay? The largest and longest study on gender dysphoria in children came out of Toronto. So when you look at the fact that Canada's laws across the whole country, we're not just talking provincial laws, we're talking about federal laws, like the entire nation, they all defend gender ideology. We all saw that teacher at Oakville Trafalgar High School with the giant breast. This was all defended by Canadian human rights laws. It's finally he's being taken out of the classroom, which is good. But you look at the way the laws are structured across Canada. Hello. And then you look at the fact that this major study came out of the center, the CAMH, it's a Center for Mental Health here in Toronto. So they studied little children with gender dysphoria, and they were gender nonconforming youth from being children all the way into adulthood, okay? And what did they find? Well, they found that when they followed up with them as adults, almost 90%, it's like 87.8% desisted, okay? They stopped. They were no longer gender dysphoric, okay? And of those 87%, 60% of them turned out to just be gay, which means that all of this is a deeply homophobic movement, right? You're literally transing gay people who would become gay adults. So when you look at these things, when you look at the UK shutting down their gender clinic and Sweden reversing gender affirmative care and the biggest study in the world coming out of Toronto, it is entirely irrational, illogical, unscientific that the gender affirmative model is not only being pushed through media, and media that's twisting the information. For example, Scientific American, they outright lie on so many levels about the gender affirmative model. Not only that, but then the laws. They're trying to implement laws that defend the gender affirmative model. So it's clearly warfare. And I think that's a really, really important thing for people to finally land in, that we're not just dealing with people who are, politically motivated. We're dealing with people who are captured by an ideology that has been designed as a form of warfare. Okay? So we're at war. Once you go through the Tavistock being shut down and the gender approach in Sweden being reversed and the study out of Toronto, there's lots of other evidence. But just those three things, it undoes it completely. And I think once we acknowledge that this is warfare and that we are up against a form of psychological warfare that is designed to ideologically capture people and to modify the behavior of young people so that they are begging their parents to get surgeries and severely, I guess, like dangerous substances injected into their bodies. You know, when you're looking at Lupron, the dangers of Lupron are very, very well known. It's not hard to look up the dangers of Lupron. This is being pushed on little children, or the dangers of injecting testosterone, right? Very, very, very dangerous substances being pushed, not just pushed, but I think the scariest thing is that they don't have to push them because the children have become so ideologically captured that you have girls begging their parents for double mastectomies, crying. Now, this is one of the things that I talk about in my film that I want to switch people over to. Very important to understand. Parallel to the gender craze in girls, we also have this craze in girls seeking breast augmentation and labiaplasties. Literally, the other day, I spoke to a mom who actually struggled with this, whose daughter was crying, begging her mom to pay for her to get a labiaplasty. That is cosmetic genital surgery, okay? Now, this is one thing that I think is really important to understand. That, yes, there is a political side to this, okay? So yes, gender ideology came from left-wing politics, right? Sure, that's true. But when we look at the fact that there is this giant rise in girls getting cosmetic genital surgery that it's not within gender ideology, that still means that there are parents, okay, consenting to their daughters getting cosmetic genital surgery at an exponentially rising rate. They're paying for it. They're consenting, okay? Now, parents who are consenting to get their children who are minors, okay, that kind of permanent surgery, well, they're not captured by left-wing ideology in those moments, right? If you look at a mom or a dad who is paying for their daughter's cosmetic genital surgery or their breast augmentation, well, that's not coming from gender ideology, and yet it involves the surgeon and the parents going along with permanently modifying young girls whose bodies are still developing. Okay, young women, they don't fully develop their bodies until like they're in their 20s. Okay, so this is part of the same issue. Okay, and this is another really good way of understanding fifth generation warfare. Okay, fifth generation warfare is extremely covert. It is designed for covert operations that can actually change their form as they move through the population. Hey, brother. Yeah, good to see you. I can't wait to be on the show next week. So what we're dealing with is, let's say something that starts as a form of information warfare, right? We can say that this is a form of information warfare simply by looking at, let's say, a Scientific American article, okay? You can go and look at there's a major Scientific American article that the gender ideologues love to share. It's, I don't know, something about the case for gender affirmative care or why gender affirmative care saves lives. I'll tell you what, go look at all the studies they cite in these Scientific American articles. Guess what? Almost 100% of them are from American institutions only. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that the science coming out of Toronto here completely, this major study debunks the gender affirmative model. That the Tavistock Institute shutting down in the UK debunks the gender affirmative model. That Sweden ditching gender affirmative model, all because of the science that they were following. Okay, all of that undermines it. But is Scientific American citing any international sources? No. They're trying to keep people in an information bubble by only citing the ideologically captured academic institutions and scientific institutions that have given themselves to gender ideology. This is a very, very important thing to notice because this is information warfare. That's it right there. It's an excellent example of information warfare where they are curating information that keeps citizens not just in the dark, but emotionally triggered, right? Keeps them triggered so that they think all these teenage girls are on the verge of suicide and they need this gender affirmative care. But then when you go and look at the UK reversing their model and Toronto coming out with this study and Sweden reversing, that doesn't make any sense. But they're not given access to that information. And it also shows you how compromised the media landscape is in Canada and America. It is so compromised that even when entire nations scientifically disprove the gender affirmative model, they can keep it going here. They can keep people in the dark. They can keep parents willingly giving their daughters life-altering surgery, okay? They can actually keep parents so ideologically captured that they will have their girls' breasts permanently removed and remove the opportunity for breastfeeding. They will help sterilize their children because they have no idea that entire nations have scientifically debunked the gender affirmative model, okay? It's pretty wild. Yeah, a lot of people say this to me, that they had to Google labiaplasty to find out what that even was. Now, that I gotta say, this is one of the things that was so eye-opening for me in making Cut. By the way, if you haven't gone to daughtersofthewestfilm.com and signed up for the email list, do it. Do it. Join me in this. Help me get this film out there. We're doing lots of giveaways between now and the world premiere of the film next month. Lots of chances to get free things and discounts on tickets and awesome things, and just follow the journey of getting this film to the world because it's going to help people on both sides of the political aisle. Anyways, yes, this labiaplasty craze. You can go and look up not just what labiaplasty is, but you can find all sorts of articles talking about the labiaplasty craze in teens. And I found an article today, a really, really shady study that tried to say that porn had nothing to do with the rising labiaplasty rates, which, come on, let's be real. Let's be real, okay? The what they called, this is in my film, the largest journal, plastic surgery journal in the world, openly states, the largest plastic surgery journal in the world openly states that the rise in labiaplasties in women and young girls is due to increasing vulvar visibility in the media, okay? So they're saying the vulva, right, being increasingly visible, not just in porn. Of course, porn is a big part of this because, yes, our youth are accessing porn with incredible ease, but they are also just, it's more revealing, right? More revealing of women's bodies and the idea that we are, ending the stigma around the vulva and that visibility, and it gets tied to feminism in certain ways. When I was a teen, and I went from worrying about plucking your eyebrows to cosmetically altering your genitals to look like, I don't know, a Kardashian in a bikini or something. It's nasty. And it's tough because, one of the things the surgeons completely omit in pushing labiaplasty on young girls is that the labia minora and the labia majora, they change throughout a woman's lifetime. They don't stay the same, right? This is the thing. Like, these are girls' bodies that are attempting to make major changes. Hello, my friend. It's girls' bodies attempting to make major changes, okay? So they're in a time of great change, and you're trying to permanently alter the body while it's trying to change. This is very dark. It's very damaging. They don't include that context in anything in these plastic surgery journals, right? And in fact, again, this is something that's in the film. They complain about the fact that the College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists aren't informing girls who are asking for labiaplasties about how satisfying the procedure is. They're like, why? Why won't all the gynecologists tell the girls about how satisfying labiaplasty is? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's like disgusting and medically wrong. Why would you ever do that to a teenager who's struggling to love their body? And then you go and tell them that medically altering their genitalia is going to be super satisfying? Yeah, okay. It's crazy. So I think the point is that the surgeons have long been captured by their own agendas. Whether that is a surgeon who is captured by gender ideology, which I know is now so common, right? Abigail Shrier talks about this. Abigail Shrier interviewed surgeons for her book who will give a double mastectomy to a teenage girl with no doctor's note. Okay? No therapy, nothing. Nothing. No parents. They can actually arrive at certain institutions, self-diagnose as gender dysphoric, and get signed up for a double mastectomy. Okay? Go ahead and check Abigail Shrier's book yourself. Certainly don't take my word for it. Yes, I know. It is very sad. It is very sad. And this is why I made the film. Because I wanted to make something that hit back from the perspective of fifth generation warfare. So it invites people into just the beginnings of plastic surgery and the rise of cosmetic surgery, like how cosmetic surgery was born, okay? And that cosmetic surgery itself, it really is almost entirely for women and girls, okay? Men do not get cosmetic surgery. Like, I think it's only 7 or 8% of all cosmetic surgeries are male. Okay, so we're dealing with like 92, 93% of all cosmetic surgeries on women and girls, and increasingly on girls. And this is recent data. So we have the spike in gender affirming or gender dysphoric girls, right? That's going up like crazy. Like in the UK, it went up 4,000% in 8 years. In America, it quadrupled, I think, in something like 2 years. Okay. At the same time, you have the rising cases of girls demanding labiaplasties and breast augmentation. This is happening parallel. The latest statistics that I explore in the film, they're like summer of 2022, and they're talking about the greatest number of cases of labiaplasties being performed was in adolescent girls, young girls, and 20% of those young girls are minors. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot for it to spike up, right? When we look at where it was before. But again, cosmetic surgery itself, it really, really targets women. The reducing the birth rate, again, this is an interesting way to look at the kind of war that we're in, right? Fifth generation warfare, covert warfare. So something can start as a psychological warfare campaign or cultural warfare. It can start as information warfare, but it can, over time, become biological warfare. This is the state of modern warfare that we need to understand. That all the war that surrounds us is designed to seem just like modern life. Like that's what we're dealing with. So at any time that you're struggling with something, it could literally be a warfare operation that you're up against. Now, that doesn't mean we should be like paranoid and think that like everything is war necessarily. What it means is we need to have a certain amount of situational awareness, and we need to be raising children as if we are in a world war, which we are, right? Like World War III is this modern form of warfare. Hello. And so we need to be raising children according to the fact that we are in a war. If you were raising a child during World War II, well, you're going to talk to the kid about the war. If you were raising a child during World War II, they're aware of the war. They know, right? And you want them to know. You want them to understand the conditions in which they're being raised. You don't want to scare them. It's not like that, but I talk about this often. I talked to my oldest son about the war that we're in, about the fact that there was an attempt to capture his mind. He should know that. He should know that. It doesn't have to be scary. It's just a call for him to have a stronger mind and more self-awareness. So, this is why I built this film from the ground up, thinking about, okay, the enemy has captured people's minds. And the enemy has put this veneer over the debate about gender affirming care that makes it seem like it's a left versus right issue, that makes it seem like it's a gay versus straight issue. And none of that is true, okay? None of that is true. It's not. It's not about those things. Sure, left-wing ideology was sort of like the passageway through which gender ideology and gender affirmative care was introduced, but that doesn't matter because the people that we're dealing with will use either political wing to insert the weaponry that they need to insert, okay? Politics is a means to an end for the enemy that we're up against. So we don't want to get too caught in the weeds of things being hyper-political. The only way in which politics is extremely relevant here is via the Overton window, okay? In the Overton window, this is this idea that there's a certain window of ideas and concepts that we're allowed to talk about in the media to the extent that they can then be turned into policy, right? So the concepts and ideas that politicians are able to grapple and aren't too taboo, that they can talk about with their platforms and then take into government institutions to then try to create policies with them, okay? So the Overton window, if we're talking about where politics is relevant in the gender ideology battle, well, that is where it's relevant because in that case, we want to shift the Overton window so that we can implement policies that actually protect children. And to do that, you do need to grapple with left and right-wing politics. And you can see, to an extent, it has been mostly right-wing politicians that have helped implement laws that have stopped the gender affirmative model, which is important because other nations have completely ended the gender affirmative model based on the scientific fact that it was hurting children, based on the scientific fact that actually really didn't have a lot behind it, that it was never a strong model to begin with. And again, the UK, they stated they were copying the American model. And they said this was the mistake, to copy the American model. And we're now going to stop all of that. We're going to reverse all of that. So, it's important to understand, why this is so important. So this is why I really, really invite people, go to daughtersofthewestfilm.com, sign up for the email. We have a giveaway that's ending, let's see, what's the date today? Let me find my calendar. I don't know the date. I'm lost in time. Today's the 6th. We are ending this on the 11th. So you have until the 11th to go to daughtersofthewestfilm.com to sign up for the email list. That will get you 10% off the film and entered into a draw to win 2 VIP tickets to the world premiere in Arizona. And it's going to be a very, very beautiful event. We're going to have lots of thought leaders there, media. We're going to have some of the detransitioners in the community, who'll be able to, share their stories. And I think that's another aspect of this that I think is really important. So some of you, yes, time isn't real. Oh, it's true. Time is spherical, but that's a different live. Some of you may have seen that video of, what's his name? Yuri Bezmenov. It's a 1984 interview of the KGB defector who talks about ideological infiltration and that the slow but sure infiltration of the West ideologically is the kind of warfare that communists are going to wage, right? And it's going to be generation by generation. And the goal will be to have people be so ideologically captured that they actually cannot even understand basic factual information. Their perception is to be so modified that you can't tell them that black is black and white is white. This is the way he talks about it, right? Yeah, that Yuri interview is amazing. But, here is what is very important. He is right that some of the people that we are currently faced with are so ideologically captured that they cannot comprehend basic facts. It's not about logic for them, right? Their perception has been so altered that they cannot see reality. That is true. However, this is what is so beautiful and important about detransitioners. Okay? They are an exception to that rule. They were ideologically captured to the extent that they maimed themselves, that they sought out adults to help them maim themselves. That is how captured they were. But they have woken up from that. They are an exception to Yuri Bezmenov's rule here, okay? They do see reality right now. They do see that black is black and white is white now. Now, from a warfare perspective, this is huge. That is massive, okay? Because you have minds that have cut through the warfare and are now speaking about the process of emerging from a form of mind control that caused them to permanently damage their own bodies. So this is why, if we look at all of this from a warfare perspective, we have to uplift the voices of detransitioners, okay? They are escaped mind control slaves. That is very, very powerful. Their voices are extremely powerful. They are an exception to the rules that Yuri Bezmenov laid out when he talked about the communist warfare infiltrating the West. Very, very important. So I think that's why I developed this film, to fight back in this very, very tactical way. That I didn't just want something that was going to get all the people who are already on board nodding. You know, I made something that can be shared with people who are ideologically captured, because the film removes the political context and says, hey, look at all the things that were happening anyway with labiaplasty and breast augmentation. You already had plastic surgeons who were against the unity of the family unit. Again, something that I explore a bit in the film. That the plastic surgeon, the largest plastic surgery journal in the world, complains about parents not consenting to their daughter's labiaplasties, and that parents would approach them and say, please tell my daughter that nothing is wrong with her and that she doesn't need surgery. And they're saying, no, forget about what the parents say. I'm here to just serve the girl. If the girl really feels she needs labiaplasty, I'm going to back this teen girl and her warped idea of her body. So they were already doing that, okay? They were already doing that. It wasn't just gender ideology that created these issues, right? These were deep cultural problems we had that existed outside of the political spectrum. We had deep, deep issues with the way that we were dealing with young girls and body images and culture, and it's only gotten worse, right? So, yes, this is in the same film that you pre-ordered. Correct. That's right. I go through all of this in the film. And I think, you know, this is why it's really important to at the very least, you know, share the website and the trailer with people who may be on the edge. You know, people who you think are left-wing, but, you know, maybe they would be receptive, because all of this begins before gender ideology in an apolitical space. Now, there are political ideals that are weaved into it to a certain extent. You know, for example, it is often the left that right now defends porn. And a lot of the way that pornography was pushed forward and normalized, and we were saturated by it, you know, some of that does come from left-wing ideology. Or for example, notions of feminism that require hypersexual girls and women. A lot of that is being pushed by the left. And yet, there's still the normalization of a lot of this that, you know, the right had no problems with. You know, women constantly getting like gigantic breasts, and that being uplifted as a kind of beauty. All the facial modifications and all this stuff, right? That was never challenged. It was rising in youth, but that was never challenged by the right as abuse. when it's very similar. Now, I know that a double mastectomy and testosterone, they're much more severe and the damage is much, much worse. I acknowledge that. But I think the point is that this fundamental notion that we tell girls that their bodies are obstacles to who they are and that they need to overcome their bodies to become who they are, that's old. That's old. That's pre-gender ideology. That's normalized in our culture already. Hello, friends. Hello. So I'm going to be publishing an extensive article that outlines all of this with lots of, with lots of sources and citations and all that stuff. But it's an invitation to those people who follow my work more closely to come look at what I'm up to with this film in a more subversive way. And it's not that it's like sneaky and, I'm not trying to be manipulative. It's really just the nature of the war that we're in. And so we do want to be releasing content and creating culture that has this intention to be covert warfare to an extent. Because if we are going to fight back properly, then we need to be able to respond to our enemy's capacity to embed warfare into the environment around us, right? Into everyday life, into what people are consuming and looking at, in the ways that they understand culture. This is so important that we need to know how to live according to where we're at, right? And if we are living in the most sophisticated war in human history, then we need to live accordingly. So our daily intentions need to be aligned with that. So we need to be giving the people around us, our communities that we want to support, we want to give them ammunition, right? We want to give them situational awareness. We want to be able to hand people who might be captured by this, who we could help lift out of being ideologically captured. We want to be able to hand them the situational awareness that they need to bring themselves out of it. But I will point out that it's not our job to awaken others. It's just to create the conditions that allow them to step into their own awakening, right? It is to a certain extent a choice that someone has to make. Yes, Moxie, that's right. So you were on the left, and that's right. Now you have friends who are still in that space. They should be reached out to because there are compassionate ways to do so. There are ways to, come from a place of understanding and not just like trying to own the other side and shut them down and make them look stupid. Yeah, just a reminder for anyone who doesn't know, it's www.daughtersofthewestfilm.com. Yeah, totally. Something that Seek was just saying, that telling your children that they're perfect the way that they are and uplift them with this messaging, this is what was missing. And we allowed cultural norms to tell our children that their bodies are wrong way before gender ideology, way before. Okay, so we need to take responsibility for that. Okay, we did not guard our culture appropriately for children. We did not guard innocence. Some of this is on us. Okay, it's not just that we're victims of an evil deep state. Like, we really didn't have our shit together. Gay and approve. That's right. Exactly. Because it's not a gay versus straight issue. It isn't. That's a fake narrative. Totally false. Yeah. I really appreciate all the people that have emerged from left-wing ideology to share their ideas and their journey. In some ways, it's more important than the people who were sort of already sort of on the right and already awake to this. I think in many ways, it's more poignant to get messaging from people who actually had to do the work to emerge from this. That is really, really powerful. I deeply appreciate that. To an extent, I came from a more left-wing place myself. Like growing up as a youth and in Canada, that was something that I was much more into. And it's important to understand the ways that politics are used to manipulate us. And the idea that we even have to be left-wing or right-wing itself is kind of a dangerous notion that I think we should be very, very careful with. Very, very careful with. yeah, so I think that's all that I'm going to go with today. Those are the ideas I'm going to leave unpacked. Keep an eye out for this article that I'm dropping. Um, I'm not sure where it's going to be published yet. It might be my Substack or it might be guest written on another Substack. We'll see. Yeah, exactly. With so many people emerging from these left-wing notions. www.daughtersofthewestfilm.com. Please don't just go there and sign up to the email yourself, or pre-purchase the film if you can also do that. But make sure you sign up for the email first because you get a discount if you do that. Why pay full price unless you really want to give that to me? But also, please send the website to people who you think might be open, who might need a little nudge. Also, send the website to people who are struggling because daughtersofthewestfilm.com has a resources section that I'm growing. I'm adding to it as often as I can that helps children and families struggling with gender ideology. It's got a ton of resources. It helps you navigate the therapy system. It helps you find books for kids that don't implement the affirmative model or gender ideology at all. It helps parents who have lost their children to it and need community to sort through the struggle and the pain of that, as much as I've been able to. So, yeah, please check it out. Please share it and help me get this film out there and help me save some girls for real because the struggle is real. Oh, good to know you're in Canada as well, Moxie. Very nice. Well, thank you, friends, for joining me for this live. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's support, and I'll see y'all soon.